It's always great to see a cinematic superhero save someone in a death-defying action sequence, and it seems kinda obvious, granted, but honestly superhero movies do it so rarely now. Even if the scene in question features civilians in need of some good old saving, it's usually a throwaway moment in an otherwise standard hero v villain mashup. I've praised these moments before, and they are important, but it's nice that Spider-Man Homecoming elects to go all out and make saving people the actual objective of the scene itself. You know, because Spider-Man is a superhero.
What? No!
Both the Monument Rescue and the Ferry Rescue encapsulate what it means to be Spider-Man, not to mention they're a neat blend of tension, action and humour. We begin with Peter learning the knowledge that the Chitauri energy core inside Ned's bag is going to go off when exposed to radiation. So whilst Ned, Liz and his friends, not you, ascend the Washington Monument, the web-slinger gives his best Winter Soldier impression.
Don't say it! Don't you say it! Left. Come on!
Peter and we, the audience, know that Chitauri rock is going to go off, but they do not. Gotta love that he deepens his voice whenever he's trying to disguise his identity.
Oh no.
My friends are up there!
What? Don't worry, ma'am. Everything's gonna be okay.
Why do I like this sequence so much? Well, two reasons. The first one is this.
Okay.
Spider-Man being scared of the ground is a great idea for a set piece. Here we really get to see the promise of the premise flourish, witnessing Spider-Man before he's truly Spider-Man. In previous iterations of the character, Peter's jump from being a plucky little nerd to a fully fledged acrobatic badass was always rather quick. That's not a criticism, just an observation, put down your pitchforks. So when it came to see Spidey in the MCU, it's nice that they gave this crucial stage a bit more time to breathe. And it makes sense. Getting these incredible spider powers wouldn't immediately eradicate a fear of heights.
You've reached the southwest window. Why are you hesitating?
Spiders, never been this high before.
Adding a sense of danger to the sequence that we might not have thought would ever factor into a Spider-Man movie. What transpires in the monument scene is kind of the culmination of this running thread in the movie. Peter is really bad at being Spider-Man. The tricks of the trade that we take for granted are things that he screws up. It feels like he spends more time running to get to his destinations than he does swinging for them. He feels like the opposite of a badass, and this works for the high school tone. Equally, it feels so Peter Parker to see him leap headfirst into danger just to save those in need, not truly noting the, well, gravity of the situation until it's too late and he's stuck at the top of a death-defying height. Watching Peter appraise the situation and power ahead anyway just makes this click. The other reason is the construction of tension. I really like how the movie cuts back and forth between the security guard in the elevator and Karen.
Our safety systems are working.
The safety systems are completely failing.
We're very safe in here.
The occupants are in imminent mortal danger.
It's simultaneously funny, keeping in line with the rest of the movie, which is definitely one of the less action-centric movies of the MCU as a whole, but it also serves as a great way to establish how screwed Ned, Liz and the gang are in their current situation. The cross-cutting between the two main points of action, Spider-Man at the top of the monument and Ned and Co in the elevator, keeps it tightly focused for the audience. Introducing the helicopter as the exterior threat, whilst we continuously see the elevator becoming more and more unstable, gives the audience a clear ticking clock to the action. Peter has to work out a way to evade the police and gain access into the monument before the cable gives way fully and his friends plunge to their doom. And it turns out the only way in is through a Death Star thermal exhaust port sized hole. Damn. Both points of action come to their breaking point, the tension is eked out as much as possible, and as we cut back and forth in one stunning moment, Peter saves them just in time. Again, points for deepened, this is what an adult must sound like Spidey voice.
Hey, how you doing? Don't worry about it, I got you.
Yes!
But since we're still dealing with a novice Spider-Man, the denouement of this rescue couldn't possibly be this slick.
Liz!
Nah, just kidding. Liz is all good. Liz is all good.
This is your chance, Peter. Kiss her.
Why the hell would the AI suggest this? This is a terrible time. If you saw our recent video on Rogue One, you might recall that I spoke about the consistent lack of tension in certain sequences, such as the opening. The rest of the movie, I think, is lacking in similar levels of tension. Take the opening. Krennic invades the Urso homestead, takes Galen hostage and murders Lyra, but we the viewer don't feel a whole lot of tension because the character that we're viewing these events through, a young Jyn Erso, is so far away from the action that there's no danger at all. As soon as things go awry, she runs off, leaving a sizable distance between her and her pursuers. This would have played out much better if the Death Troopers were right on her tail. She should have climbed into a hiding spot at the last possible second before the Death Troopers entered the cave. Well, on the flip side, the monument scene is the total opposite of that. It only works so well because each problem present in the set piece remains a consistent problem for the protagonist until the final action of the scene, thus building the tension. Nothing is going right for Peter. How is he going to fight his fear of heights? The elevator is getting more unstable. Oh look, now there's a helicopter flying next to me with a rifle pointed at my head. The elevator is getting worse and worse. In order to maximise the danger and the excitement of a scene, don't have Jyn Erso getting leaps and bounds ahead of her pursuers. Have Spider-Man given 3 problems at once to fix in a finite amount of time. And then we arrive at the ferry sequence, an equally important scene that builds upon what we saw in the monument sequence.
Hey guys, you missed it!
It starts off with a bit of fisticuffs. I mean, he doesn't actually punch anyone, but you know what I mean. Before Toombs suits up as the Vulture and we're treated to some sweet dodginess. As I said at the start of the video, most superhero action places the villain as the priority of the scenes, and saving civilians is more the window dressing. Here the reverse is true. The fight with Vulture, if you can really call it that, is over pretty quickly. This sequence is about the collateral damage, who is affected by it, and what Peter can do to save those in need. The ship scene doesn't use people close to Peter, but I think that's equally important. The first rescue sequence in DC sees our hero saving people for himself, for Peter Parker, as much as it is just the right thing to do. In this scene, he's seen saving people because that's what a friendly neighbourhood Spider-Man simply does. He's embracing the role of the superhero. Couple that with the fact that he's visually shown having more mastery and confidence with his abilities and gadgets, and this is the point in the movie where we start to see him flourish as the amazing Spider-Man we know and love.
I gotta say, the other guy was way better with that thing. I'm shocked.
Initially, the ship sequence is the complete reverse of the monument sequence. Initially, because this is also his downfall. His very presence at the incident causes it to escalate and ends up tearing the ship in two. The moment where Peter systematically travels through the ship and webs each structural weak point together is immensely satisfying to watch. It's a great end to the scene.
No!
Oh shit. Spidey does his best Civil War impression, but this time he doesn't quite nail it. In spite of good intentions, the webhead is way over his head. Desperately, Sony and Disney execs work together to come up with a deal to get one of their most bankable stars to fly in and save the day. Peter fails, but that's not enough. His whole sense of self is challenged. This idea that he can only be the superhero he wants to be with the help of tricks and gadgets.
I think this is all I have. I'm nothing without this suit.
If you're nothing without this suit, then you shouldn't have it.
This argument is key. The whole movie showers Peter in Stark-flavoured gadgets, but it also reinforces that Peter doesn't need any of that to be Spider-Man. Equating him to Iron Man Jr. doesn't make an awful lot of sense to me, because he doesn't need Tony Stark to make him who he is. He's his conduit to a bigger world, sure. It is through Tony that he engages in intergalactic conflicts and realises what it's like to be a small fish in a big superhero pond. There's no doubt that Tony's guiding hand helped, but if anything, Homecoming wants you to know that Peter's will is all that he needs to be Spider-Man. He doesn't pay his way into becoming Spider-Man. He's recognised for his bravery and natural talent by someone with the means, wealth, and power to help him. It's a scholarship, not nepotism, and it's that crucial difference which means it doesn't betray the working class roots of the character. He's just an ordinary kid with a lot of potential who happens to be gifted with incredible powers by chance. I know some fans aren't overly happy with how inept he can be, but to me it feels like Marvel have authentically delivered on a child superhero.
Everyone else said I was crazy to recruit a 14-year-old kid.
I'm 15.
No, this is where you zip it, all right? The adult is talking.
Of course he's a moron, of course he needs Tony Stark to come and save him. I know for a fact when I was 15, I would have screwed up all of this stuff, and probably more, because everyone is an idiot at 15. Everyone. Apart from that bastard in Thunderpants, he probably cured cancer with the use of, like, goat's piss or something. We need more scenes like these in superhero movies. Punching is great, I love me some punching, but set pieces designed around the simple objective of just saving people in need, that's the purest form of superhero myth on film. The Monument and Ferry rescue scenes are what it's all about. We need to see this kind of giddy optimism from our heroes, to leap without looking to stop a crisis, without it being about breaking bones. This is the best way to remind us all that what these characters should be are paragons of optimism and selflessness, not destruction. Thank you for watching another full fat video. Don't forget to click that subscribe button and hit the bell if you'd like to see more breakdowns of movies, TV and more. A big thank you to our full fat tier patrons, Dr. Chike, Jax Merrick and Mike Nandu. You the boys. Until next time, keep it full fat.